Here.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Yes.
Mrs. Larson? Mrs. McGinley? Yes. Mrs. Fernandez?
Yes. Motion carries. Board of Education allows and encourages members of the public and visitors to address the board during public comment. Speakers will be invited to address the board in the order in which public comment request cards were submitted. Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes. I also want to remind you that public comment is a time for comment. If you would like a response to your comment, please let us know, and we will direct Dr. Collins to assign someone to respond to. Okay, Lori Fernandez. State your name, your address.
My name is Lori Fernandez, and I live 24791 West Clinton Avenue, Round Lake, Illinois. I just have a question. At the last meeting, I mean, obviously, a lot of parents are upset about the whole Pleviak thing, and there's really nothing that can be done at this point. I don't think about it. You guys have decided, you've accepted, everything. But I really think, going forward, Dr. Collins mentioned that there was a committee that was started in 2010 about this. So I really think going forward, and I'm basically asking, where is it that we can find a list of the committees for things that are going on here for improvement, so that some of the parents can go on and say, I think this might be a committee that I'm interested in being on, instead of being surprised at the very last minute. The district is very good about that. I don't know how something went on since 2010 and nobody knew anything about it until 3-4 weeks before it actually happened. So, it would probably be good to put maybe a list of committees so parents can actually have some kind of involvement and say, and maybe just dates in which they're expected, to close out. So if you have, right now you have the referendum committee, when is the goal date that you expect these people to be working on this committee, so that the parents in the district can get more involved.
Are there any other comment cards? Is there any other public comment?
I can do in English, but for respect to the parents who doesn't speak English, we will add a translator, please. If someone can translate. My comment, well, first, I think you remember me. I'm voluntary parent. Soy un papá voluntario del Pleviak por más de 10 años. Puedo decirte 13. Y mi comentario es acerca para la señora Collins. Quiero decirle que el mes de la hispanidad, como ella lo mencionó, desde que yo he estado, yo recuerdo, perdón.
This is addressed
You comment that when you came to the district to here in Round Lake, we start, perdón, I forgot, I'm going to speak in Spanish. Desde que usted llegó, usted mencionó que se empezó a celebrar el mes de la hispanidad y que debido a eso empezó a venir mucha gente a nuestras reuniones.
Due to the Hispanic heritage, when you started doing this program, more parents got involved.
Y quiero decirle que todos los años que he estado aquí, casi todos los años lo hemos celebrado.
She says that from all the years that they have been doing, they have been celebrating.
Y muchos papás han participado.
And all the parents have participated.
Los otros administradores que yo recuerdo que estuvieron presentes, como el señor Stonewall y la doctora Ellen Bogan, fueron personas que compartieron con nosotros.
In the past, administrators were part of this event, and they share a lot of experiences with them.
Y si usted quiere checar, nosotros tenemos en nuestro récord del PIPAC en nuestra oficina, supongo que deben de estar todavía allí. Y si no, yo tengo pruebas, recortes que lo prueban, que así se ha hecho.
But she also has documented and has reported that these events have been taking place.
Mi otro comentario es, estoy en total desacuerdo el día que fuimos a protestar, cuando despidieron a las maestras del trato que se nos dio.
She says that they were in not in agreement about the treatment that they got during the past event in Pleviak, the protest.
When the two teachers were fired, that's what I mean. We went to the kindergarten, and the principal and Mr. Palmer, Lee Palmer, I think is his name, teachers. I don't agree with that time because nosotros sabemos el primer amendment, first amendment is that we have the right to speech. Nosotros no estábamos haciendo nada malo, estábamos en paz, sin hacer ninguna violencia, y fueron llamadas varias patrullas con 2 oficiales en cada patrulla.
She said that they got law enforcement to the place, and they were in disagreement about the treatment that they received from Pete Palmer, and they were very unhappy with the treatment about. They were in peace, non-violent protest, and they didn't feel quite well with that.
El señor Palmer, comentarios de algunas madres de familia fue que nos dijo que nos fuéramos a nuestras casas y que aprendiéramos a hablar inglés.
He says that Mr. Palmer told them to go home and to learn to speak English.
Eso realmente, a mí me tocó ver la actitud que tuvo frente de la maestra Tita. Yo estaba al lado de ella y miré la forma prepotente que le habló y no había ninguna necesidad de hacer eso.
She didn't like the treatment that Mr. Lee gave to one of the teachers, and that she was present when that happened.
Nosotros no tenemos títulos universitarios, pero tenemos el amor que tenemos a nuestros hijos. Y eso es lo que nos da el valor de estar hablando aquí en estos momentos.
But they protect their kids, and that's why she's standing here on behalf of her kids, for their children.
Yo pienso que si tenemos una comunicación con ustedes y nosotros, y si en verdad entendieran lo que estamos necesitando, las cosas que no se nos comunican, no hubiera ninguna necesidad de estar protestando ni estar en desacuerdo con todo lo que ustedes nos dicen. Por ejemplo,
She says that they need more communication so that they can avoid this kind of misunderstanding, and nothing has been actually told to them or facilitated to them, and that's the reason why they went to the protest.
en una de las juntas, la señora Collins, cuando tenía una junta del BIPAC, nos dijo y lo mencionó a la prensa que ella siempre está abierta a nuestras inquietudes.
You have expressed to them that you're always open to their comments or needs. And in the last meeting that you went to the
La señora Nancy también lo recuerdo. Lo que no me gusta es que siempre nos dicen eso, pero a la mera hora siempre toman las decisiones ustedes mismos. Y eso es lo que no estamos de acuerdo, que se nos avise al último momento. Deberían de tomar más en cuenta a los padres en las decisiones que van a hacer. No 3 meses, 6 meses, 1 año, sino desde que se toma esa decisión. Y en verdad todo eso evitaría todo esto que se está haciendo.
She says that they need to be properly informed, not 3 months, 5 months, or a year, but from the moment the program starts or the project starts, to have them informed of everything, on all the happenings in any decision that you're taking, because they will have to know that they couldn't do anything. That decision was made for them.
Tengo más de 27 años viviendo en la comunidad de RLAS. Tengo 3 hijos que ya se graduaron de aquí de este distrito y uno más que se va a graduar este año. Así que pues he visto todo cómo se ha transcurrido, todos los ejecutivos que han estado y pues realmente es hasta ahora que se ha visto todo. Para mí es un desastre lo que se está haciendo.
She says that she has been living in that community for 27 years. Her children all have been coming to the Round Lake schools, and she is very upset about all that is been happening, and she is not really happy with the results.
Gracias.
There is only 3 minutes for public comments. Solamente 3 minutos para los comentarios públicos.
Es mucho lo que se tiene que decir para tan poquito tiempo. So, many years.
She says that it's a little time for everything that has to be said.
Well, no, it's 3 minutes per person.
3 minutos por persona.
Buenas noches, tampoco hablo inglés. ¿Puede ayudar, por favor? Mi nombre es Claudia Salcedo, mi domicilio es 311 Walworth Drive en Round Beach. Tengo 3 hijos en el distrito. Yo estoy aquí porque estoy desacuerdo en...
She has 3 kids in the district, and she's here because she is in disagreement with.
En la reunión pasada hice comentario de la transportación sobre los niños del kinder a la isla y no me han llamado para responder mis preguntas.
She made the district aware about the transportation issues to Pleviak, and she submitted them, but she has not received any answers.
Una de las cosas que me molestan, me dio demasiada tristeza ver visto que solo faltaban 2 días o día y medio para que los niños se despidieran de su maestra y no lo permitieron. Son cosas personales.
She is very upset because her children didn't have enough time to say goodbye to the teacher. They only had like a day and a half or 2 to properly say goodbyes.
Yo entiendo que son cosas personales, pero podría haber esperado día y medio para un despido tal como ella lo merecía. No es una delincuente, no dañó a ningún niño. Realmente es tristeza ver visto cómo lloraban esos niños que no asistió a su maestra el último día de clases.
She understands that there is a personal issues with the staff, but that she was really sad and to see her children crying because they couldn't say goodbye to their teachers.
Otro punto que me gustaría tratar es sobre la educación bilingüe. El año 2013 a 2014 no hubo bilingüe para los niños desde preescolar hasta segundo, que era lo que había, no hubo.
She has a concern in regards to the bilingual program. There is only been kindergarten to 2nd grade.
Y todo el dinero que estaba destinado al programa bilingüe, ¿dónde terminó? Me gustaría saber.
She would like to know where the money was, where the money went that was destined to this program.
Quiero hacer un paréntesis. Mis niñas estuvieron en bilingüe desde preescolar y en segundo no les dieron
bilingüe y una de mis niñas sufría porque no entendía a su maestra cómo comunicarse.
She has two girls, one's in kindergarten and the other one is in second grade, and she didn't get the bilingual assistance.
Este año nos comentaron que hay 17 puestos para maestros bilingües y me gustaría saber qué preparación tienen y qué nivel de lenguaje en español van a dar.
We have been informed that there will be 17 positions for bilingual teaching program, and she would like to know how qualified these teachers are going to be.
El otro punto que me gustaría mencionar, que no me han llamado para decirme cuántos niños van a asistir en un camión para ir a la otra escuela, cuántos niños van a ir sentados en un asiento.
She would like to know what the transportation arrangements are going to be, how many kids are going to be transported in a bus, and how many kids are going to be sitting in each seat at the bus.
Porque creo que merecemos una explicación todos los papás de que si el camión caben 3 niños, van a ir 3 niños, pero los 3 niños van sin asiento de seguridad y van a ir muy lejos de lo que es de Ronley hasta la escuela. ¿Va a haber alguna persona cuidando a esos niños que no se pongan de pie? ¿Cómo va a ser el sistema?
She also has a concern about the seating arrangements. If there are going to be 3 kids sitting on the same spot, who is going to be taking care of them, who's going to be watching them, and to make sure that they're not standing up.
Muchas gracias, es todo.
Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Amalia García. Estoy aquí porque queremos lo que todo padre quiere y espera de un distrito.
They are here because she would like to know what to await from the district.
Mi nombre es Amalia García, mi dirección es 236 East Clarendon, Roundel Beach. Nos gustaría que nos tomen en cuenta las decisiones que se toman para el futuro de nuestros hijos.
They would like to be taken into consideration for all the
Las decisiones que
all
se
the
toman
decisions that are being made
para el futuro de nuestros hijos.
for their children's future.
Estamos cansados de que no nos escuchen.
They are really tired that they're not being heard.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Mi nombre es Sandra Camarena, mi dirección es 1601 North Lakeshore Drive, en Roundel Beach.
¿Puede decir un poquito más fuerte?
1601 North Lakeshore Drive, en Roundel Beach. Yo la semana pasada, la semana pasada, vine porque el niño se va al kinder.
She came here to the last meeting. Her son is going to kindergarten.
Ya la decisión la tomó el Board of Education, la administración, de trasladar a nuestros niños para Medina. ¿Dónde está? Yo quisiera ver, me gustaría ver como una lista de si ellos entrevistaron padres pidiendo la opinión.
They are aware that all the decision has been made already about moving the kids to the new location. But she would like to know if you have any names of people, parents that were interviewed and agreed with this decision.
Porque a mí sí me respondieron del distrito para aclararme algunas de mis preguntas que hice la junta pasada, la señora Silvia.
She got an answer about some concerns that she has before, and she was contacted by Phyllis.
Y entonces no me contestó todas mis preguntas, todas mis dudas. Y yo creo que como padres nos están olvidando y haciendo a un lado, porque yo todavía recuerdo para cuando querían hacer la remodelación de la high school, usaron todos sus medios de comunicación para hacer saber a la comunidad lo que querían hacer con la high school.
She didn't get all the answers from her inquiries that she had or concerns from the last meeting. And there were changes made at the high school, and when changes were made, the whole media was contacted and made a big deal about it.
Y aquí la señora Collins la vez pasada dijo que lo de cambiar el kinder era desde el 2010.
Dr. Collins had stated that moving the kindergarten was stated from 2010.
Entonces, ¿por qué no lo están haciendo saber? Y no la comunidad completa, porque creo que no se nos está avisando a los papás de los niños que van a ir al kinder, pero tienen que tomar en cuenta la comunidad completa, porque es algo que nos concierne a toda la comunidad.
That everybody is just pointing or directing all the concerns and issues about the kindergarten move time, and only is directed towards the parents, but not to the community, and that they need the community involved.
Solo quiero recordarle a toda la administración que tienen un compromiso no solo con los padres, con toda la comunidad, que están trabajando para nosotros, y nosotros como padres estamos preocupados por nuestros niños y vamos a estar atrás, mirando qué pasa con nuestros niños con todos estos cambios radicales.
She's stating that
Que no olviden que tienen un compromiso.
that all the board of directors have a commitment with all the parents, and that they are also watching for their children and all the decisions that are being made, and they would like to be involved.
Porque en este caso pues hubieran cambiado a niños grandes a otro pueblo, no a los niños de aquí, por favor.
That it would have been better to move the kids, the older kids, and not the kindergartners.
Gracias.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Mercedes Alfaro, mi dirección 411 South Channel Drive, Round Lake Beach. Papás, miembros del board, administradores, principales y todo el personal que trabaja en este distrito.
On behalf of the board, parents, and parents on the board, and the whole district,
Estamos aquí por el futuro de nuestros niños.
they are here for the future of their children.
Estoy aquí para pedirle al personal que trabaja en el distrito
She is here asking for the person working in the district
que ponga más atención a la educación de nuestros niños
to pay more attention to the children's education
y se dediquen a su profesión con amor.
and to dedicate their profession with love.
Estoy preocupada porque he recibido una carta
She has a concern because she received a letter
donde dice que este es el 4º año consecutivo
where it states that this is the 4th consecutive year
que las escuelas de Round Lake no logran alcanzar las metas establecidas.
that Round Lake doesn't reach the established goals.
Queremos un buen sistema educativo que funcione
We would like to have a better educational system that works
y que respete los derechos de nuestros niños.
and to respect the rights of their children.
porque de verdad estamos muy preocupados por ellos.
We're really heavily concerned about that for their children.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move to communications to the board. Year-end special education report.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to share some information regarding special education this year. In your board packet, you have a more detailed report, so I'm going to provide you some kind of overview as we go through this brief PowerPoint. Okay. Special education services continuum, same sorts of programs and services that we have been offering are continuing to be offering in the district next year. One thing that was not placed on here that I'm going to talk about at the end of this is some of our transition programming that we are excited about to bring forward next year. In your board packet, you have very specifics about our private placement, which is at about 29 students that we have. SEDOL this year has been 75, so as you look across, as well as in our 1,000 students, basically that includes speech and language, all students ages 3 through 22. And what we also wanted to do is show you a little bit in regards to SEDOL over the course of the last several years. And again, as I've shared with the board, every year we're looking to bring students back more on a case-by-case basis. So that's continuing to occur as we move into these last several years. And this basically is showing you right now our current tuition rate for SEDOL, which is our biggest cost, as well as the projected cost, which they have basically indicated this year as we move forward. It's going to be at about, a 5% increase. We also did a parent satisfaction survey from the district. We had 23 parents, so about 25% of the parent survey. And overall, excuse me, my allergies, they are understanding the IEP process. They are understanding their rights. We are continuing to educate during IEP meetings and any other opportunities with parents to help them understand as best we can so that they understand everything around special education, IEPs, evaluations. I did want to share with you, throughout the year we have shown you different graphs and charts regarding our student progress. Over the year, our IEP students, over 60%, have made typical growth. And so what I wanted to do with this slide, we knew that the cut slides this year, the cut scores this year, were going to dip both the general ed and special ed. The thing I wanted to point out, though, is in 2013, we did decrease that gap, which is what we're talking about for our students. So we're closing that gap little by little. One of the things we want to continue to work on is we have not only the reading curriculum, the math curriculum as we go through next year, but also that specialized instruction for our students that's research-based, and continuing to pair those two together to continue to close that gap. So that's all I have from a very brief overview from the board packet that I have for you. I also, while I'm up here, want to just briefly share, also in your board packet, you have the transition programming option that we are going to be moving forward with. And I did put it up here on a slide, but I just had a couple comments that I wanted to share with you. We are moving forward. We are having a parent group meeting this week. We're going to have one in July and one in August, so hopefully mid-August when the building is kind of fixed up the way we want it to be. We're going to have one space that is a mini apartment, one space that is a work center, and 2 classrooms. And these students that we're referring to, as I shared in the board packet, are students 18 to 22 that have areas of need in functioning in a community, job skills, self-care skills, and those work skills. So we're going to be bringing those students back. We're taking actually first rounds from August to January. The students that just graduated basically from high school and bringing those into our program. We have a very strong program put together, and now it's just implementing that program, building out some of those community opportunities for those students, as well as the curriculum and supports within our building. So any questions on the special education report or the transition report? And I know as we move forward, Jennifer Dunn will be sharing updates with you regarding the transition and how that is looking, and specifics more about as we move forward.
Do we have somebody on our staff that works with the SEDOL staff?
Yes, we do. Tracy Hollister is our transition coordinator for the district. However, she is really working with the students that are already housed here at the high school. So we really want to continue to build that out for those students that are aging out of the high school program to age 22.
On the ISAC comparisons, I'm very interested in having a benchmark every year, along with our district scores for IEP and non-IEP students. I'd be interested in seeing a state average for IEP and non-IEP students. Last year and this year, so I can see how that sort of impacted us relative to the entire state.
We can get that to you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Preschool kindergarten update.
Phyllis and you guys, as we're going through this presentation, if you're able to answer any of the questions which have come up from the parents, if you could include that as a part of your presentation, we would appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right, to start off with, we're just talking about just some of the logistical pieces of this move from for the kindergarten program from EEC to Pleviak, as well as the early childhood program from 3 different facilities that they're in now to EEC. The EEC staff is completely packed and ready to go at this point. The building is being cleaned right now. The occupancy date of Pleviak is July 15th. I have spoken with Charlie Privet, and he is getting ready, getting his team and everything set to start that move July 15th.
As far as the early childhood move goes, we are almost packed. We have one teacher that has some personal commitments, and she's coming in this week and finishing. Everything is ready to go. And so as soon as the stuff is out of the EEC, the things from Village and St. Paul and my office, because I'm housing the materials from the Park District, will be moved over to the EEC.
Currently, right now, the staff from EEC has not been inside Pleviak. I've been inside Pleviak a couple of different times now to see it. I have spoken with Lake Villa's facility manager. I left a message for him this morning and an email last week to hammer out dates to get the staff in, so the staff is very prepared to know what they're encountering when you walk into the building.
And we made a conscious decision that the preschool staff would not take a tour of the EEC until the EEC staff could take a tour of Pleviak, so that we can have some staff members seeing their new home while others couldn't. We are very excited one place where we all are. As many of you know, through the years, since probably 2008, we've rented space at St. Paul. We've also sent children to Lake Villa, to Wakanda, to Big Hollow. When we run out of space, we have this year, we currently have had students at the Park District, St. Paul, and Village. Now we'll all be together. I met with the staff on June 5th, and just the excitement in the air because the teachers could all plan together and talk about, well, while you're doing this, we'll be doing that, and everybody will be in the same space. This space will be conducive for children. You know, the church has been great, but it is a church and we are renting space. We're using those classrooms as opposed to a building that is made for young children with a space for gross motor activities as well as small motor. And the related service personnel will have offices and places to bring children to work. So we're not all kind of climbing over each other.
One of the big pieces I know for the move from the EEC to Pleviak for kindergarten parents is that fear of the unknown. And what we've actually worked out with transportation, so Leslie's been great working with us this year, is on August 6th, we are actually going to run buses from the EEC to Pleviak, so parents will get an idea of what that transportation is going to look like, how long that bus ride is going to take for some of our students. We're running 2 buses that day, one at 9 a.m. and again at 11 a.m. We'll also be doing tours inside of Pleviak that day as well. So you'll come up, there'll be some staff members there, we'll walk parents through the buildings, so you'll be able to get to see the spaces and the opportunities that your children are going to get to have that they don't have currently at the EEC. Again, on August 7th, which all parents will receive a note about K-5 is bus tag day. You got to come pick up your bus tag so that your little ones can ride the bus. That's going to be at Indian Hill this year, and we're going to run 3 bus tours that day from Indian Hill up to Pleviak on that day. Again, we'll be doing tours inside the building. We'll be able to show all the spaces and all the opportunities that our students are going to get to have that they haven't had before at the kindergarten level.
What does, when the kids ride the bus right now, how many kids are on a bus seat, and how many kids will be on a bus seat as they drive through there? Will it be any different than what exists right now?
I don't have the exact numbers. I know that right now we run 15 buses right now for the early education students in the afternoon we're dismissing. The buses average anywhere from about 20 to 40 students on the bus. Depends on which bus, where they're going, which neighborhoods they're from. So the kids are sitting about 2 a seat, and it'll be pretty much the same next year when we're running them up to Pleviak. And I know another concern that has come up over time is that, Pleviak is an older building. Yes, it's an older building, but Lake Villa has done a phenomenal job of taking care of that building. I've had the opportunity to tour it, see it. I've seen it from the roof to the basement. I was on the roof for about 45 minutes with the architect and Charlie in the basement, every classroom in there. I've seen it all. It's a great facility. It's in great shape. It offers us a great deal of improvements. One is the front office. Right now, if you get buzzed to the front door at the EEC, you're in the building. There's no way to stop you. There's nothing that stops you from going in. At Pleviak, you have to go into the office. You have to check in with the staff in the office before you're allowed out of the building. So there's a definite increase in security for our kids. So these are just a few pictures. It's a nice office. It's a great space. We're really excited about that space and that opportunity, that added security, which has been a huge concern of mine since day one when we started. When I started at our EEC back in April. We actually have a nurse's office now that's in the office so that the kids are there. We can contact the parents can come in. Nobody's lost trying to find where they go. We have a lovely nurse's office for next year. I know this doesn't thrill the parents sometimes, but this is important to my staff. Having an actual staff workroom, that's their workroom, and they can actually have storage in there and have a place to work that isn't standing at a small table or 2 copiers and trying to get things done with more than 5 people in a small room that currently is in. The huge thing for us is that this offers us 2 gymnasiums. Our kindergarten students have the opportunity to have a gym class just like every other student in the district. Currently at the EEC, this is not an option that we offer. We don't have the space for it, we don't have the facilities, we don't have the time and the day for it. This provides us with the opportunity, we have 2 spaces to run gym classes in, so this is phenomenal for our kids. The other thing it offers us is we have art music rooms, which is again something that we don't offer currently at the EEC at the kindergarten level. The kids don't get art class, and the kids don't get music class. This offers us the opportunity to provide those for our kindergartners where it is so important for their development to have these specialists. Because it prepares them better to learn in the classrooms, it prepares them better when they're going to first grade. And to have these opportunities is going to be instrumental in improving the educational value for our students, which is why this is so key that we do this. Again, something that we don't currently have at the EEC is we don't have a staff lounge. We don't have a place for staff to go, to eat their lunch, to talk with their colleagues, and just relax in the middle of the day when they're eating lunch. Right now, it's a 6x6 space with a table. It's just not a whole lot of room for our teachers. So this provides them an opportunity to have an actual space as a staff lounge. Another big piece that we don't have at the EEC is we don't have a library at the EEC. There's no place for the students to go, sit down, have a library, read them stories, for them to check out books, to bring home, to help with their education, to help with their reading skills. Pleviak offers us a fabulous library. The library is big, it's spacious, it's got lots of room for books, and right now I've got books stacking up from all the libraries in the district, in other schools in the district, stacking up, piling up, waiting to be checked in, so that our kindergarten students have those opportunities to get their hands on those books, to check out those books, to help them. Pleviak offers us 2 computer labs. Right now, we just got 1 computer lab at the EEC, and we didn't get it until January. This offers our students the opportunity to get their hands on computers every week, be in there to learn about different things, and have that opportunity that the other buildings have right now that our kindergartners don't currently have. Another piece that's big for the staff is to have a book room. Right now, the resources that we do have are spread out over the building. They're in different classrooms. I have a big chunk in my office because it's only one space available, that we store all of our books and all of our resource materials for the teachers to use with their students. This offers us a couple of different book rooms spread out throughout the building, so it's going to be a great place to have central resources for our students to use, our teachers to use with our students. These are just a couple of pictures of the classrooms. The classrooms are nice and big, they're spacious, they're very similar to the size rooms that they have now. The big piece for us is they already have smart boards, interactive whiteboards installed in the classroom. They're only a couple of years old, very familiar with smart. It's what I used when I was in the classroom. It's great. The students are going to have that opportunity to use that interactive piece to further their education, improve the programming of what we can offer to our local schools. This is just some more pictures of some of the classrooms. Playground. Playground is another big piece that is a safety concern for us right now. On days where they can't go on the playground equipment, where they can't go because of the snow or the rain or anything like that. Right now, if you've been to the EEC, you know the circle drive that's in front of the EEC, we blocked it off with cones and some rope, and that's where students play, because there's no other space for them. At Pleviak, the space that is behind the building is a huge blacktop space that offers the kids a safe place. There's no cars going through, there's no buses going through, there's nobody making deliveries back there. It offers them a huge safe space that they can play, they can run around, and get all the energy that all of those 5-year-olds have. So this is the floor plan for the building. So this is what you're looking at here. This is the first floor of the building right now. The gymnasium up on the top got cut off by the hockey machine, but you can see the other gymnasium that's there that has a stage to offer us all these opportunities to do these different things with our students, extend our days so that we have more time with them to improve the education that they're going to get on a daily basis. So that trickle effect goes on in the first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, all the way up through high school. That when we set the base in kindergarten, we improve that educational value that what we give our kids in kindergarten, it's only going to have better effects all the way through.
Let me ask this question, Nick. For this year, as you take a look, because it was brought up about the student achievement of our kindergartners, when you take a look at where our kids started this year and knowing that we've been really focusing hard on student achievement and trying to improve the level of student achievement, not only for our kindergartners, but really for all of our kids within the district, where would you say that our kids have gone in kindergarten from the beginning of the year to the end of the year compared to the progress that they've made in the past?
Our students this year, with the improvement of the programming and the focus on higher expectations, our kiddos this year, every student takes a math test in kindergarten at the beginning of the year. The building average is about the 36th percentile. So when we're talking about 36th percentile, that means on average, our kindergartners scored as well as the lowest 36% of the country that took that test in kindergarten. When they finished the end of the year, it was the 47th or 48th percentile. Sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head. The 47th or the 48th percentile. When you talk 13 points of growth for kindergarten, it is a huge amount of growth for our kindergartners, and that's just with an extended day. That's not a full day program. We only have the students 5.5 hours, and 40 minutes of that is lunch. So with an extended day, that opportunity to push our students even farther is just only going to go up. The addition of music, art, and PE, and all those specials that really get the kids' brains going, really get them thinking, is only going to make that growth even more for next year. When I talked with the principals about where the kindergartners were before I came in, when they got to the first grade, they weren't ready for first grade. They were behind grade level, their scores weren't great. This year, we're sending more and more of our students actually ready for first grade to be successful when they get to first grade.
Thank you. Board members, are there any questions about what has been shared regarding where we are planning for the preschoolers as well as the kindergarten students?
How are they getting the information out to the parents regarding the tours for the family?
Right now, the flyer for that is out for translation. As soon as that flyer is translated, it's going to be mailed out to everybody who's currently registered for next year.
Are they going to actually schedule that, or is it just going to be whoever shows up goes on that?
For the tours, I would just say anybody that comes, we'll take them out there, we'll show them around the building. Everybody's welcome.
Are you going to do more than just a flyer to communicate that information?
Yes, I will work with Heather to put that out into the different social medias that we have, put it into the newspaper so that those things are widely communicated to everybody.
We also, I did an interview with a reporter who also asked if she could accompany us on that tour, on the bus tour, and we said definitely we'd be happy to have her go on one of those tours. So I know that Nick and some others have been in contact with her to let her know when the bus tours will be. And so she will be accompanying the parents on the bus tour so that she can see Pleviak also.
Appreciate your enthusiasm.
I'm
See
very
how
excited.
excited you are about this.
The last thing that I want to present to the board is that Pleviak is currently the Pleviak Panthers. So for our youngest ones, I would like to request that the board approve that we be the Pleviak Panther Cubs with our slogan that Panther Pride starts here.
Okay, we're going to move on to the discipline report.
Yeah, and I would just like to, the high school had 133 suspensions the month of May. Use the microphone, please. The discipline report for May, the high school had 133 suspensions. I do want to break that down for you. 24 students
in the month of May were responsible for almost 50% of the suspensions. On May 22nd, 17 were suspended due to senior prank day. It wasn't anything significant, but they were just not following directions over and over and over. They were wandering the halls, so they were asked to leave. 22 suspensions were coded as class cuts,
And I know we've talked a lot about class cuts these last couple months. However, with that, it wasn't specifically about the class cut. It was the insubordination after the fact that led to the suspension. So that, for the month of May, totals that high school with 133 suspensions. One of the things that we have talked about and are beginning to develop a tighter plan for next year is the peer mentoring and the staff mentoring program for those students that are appearing not to want to be in all their classes for all periods. So they already have some targeted students that we're going to be working with for next year to hopefully engage them to have them be part of the classroom more often.
How many students were responsible for those?
So 24 students were responsible for almost 50%, so 1 to 2%. 17 were suspended on May 22nd due to senior prank day. And then 22 of the suspensions were coded as class cuts, but it wasn't really due to the class cut.
I would imagine the second year of our program in the high school building would have a better grip on what happened with senior pranks.
Yeah. The other thing is we have senior pranks coming up and having a team, both staff and students, to develop an appropriate activity that so that they're feeling like they're engaged in something appropriate versus coming up with something on their own, which is what happened this year.
Having played in high school, I was actually pretty surprised with some of the things that they came up with on their own. Where's the books and their stuff?
Can you address the 21 fighting physical contact aggression at the elementary school and the 34 and 13 and 35?
At Alice Elementary, again, a lot of that ends up being pushing and shoving at the elementary level. It's not, it does look, and we are looking to define that more with the parent-student handbook as we go into next year, because it does look different, but it is coded the same way, Nancy. So what happens is it comes across as if it's a lot more significant, but the majority of elementary is pushing and shoving. When it gets to the middle school, there is some contact. Again, if there's one punch, we are taking that as fighting. So again, everybody is defining it a little bit differently, and we're trying to utilize the parent-student handbook to define those things at the elementary, middle school, and high school a little bit better, so that it's a little bit easier to code as we move forward.
And then what are the plans on addressing it? I mean, it's happening, so what are the plans on addressing it?
One of the things that needs to be happening more often is having, whether it's within class at the start of the school year and throughout the school year, having those kind of mini PBIS trainings, if you will, or activities about whether it's bullying, sharing appropriately, all those kinds of things across all the buildings. So incorporating those, and I know when we talk in high school, one of the things they're going to start right at the beginning of the school year, like everybody in English class, or first period, third period, and they're going to continue that throughout the year. So anybody that's moving in can also reap the benefit of hearing the same kind of conversation, same kind of activities throughout the school year. So building that not only once as we start the school year, but having those pockets throughout the school year to ensure that we're targeting all students and that we're also doing that reminding and reteaching of those skills as well.
I appreciate that the principals and the teachers are holding these kids accountable for their behavior, but I think we also need to work on changing
Absolutely. We need to work on changing the behavior, and instead of making it so punitive, we want to reinforce the positive.
Is there, one last question, is there a date on the calendar when the revised handbook will be presented to the board?
We're still in the process of updating it. I don't have a final date for you.
It will be.
This summer, over the summer.
Since most of the financials were already given in the other report, I'm just going to hit the highlights of our governing board meetings. We set dates for the new governing board meetings for this year. They will be August 27th, December 3rd, March 4th, and June 10th. Jim Harms was reappointed to serve as governing board president. We have a couple people retiring, Dr. D. Virgilio and Dr. Ware. So we've appointed some new people to fill those positions. Went over some of the regular, appointed Barb Watson as treasurer and did some policy revision readings. They presented the tentative budget, which for SEDOL, for our part of it is the $2.3 million. Their total budget will be $62,500,000 next year. We did a governing board evaluation, not like we do a board evaluation, but we evaluated the meeting, and then we'll get some results back from that later on. And then they set the new executive board meeting schedule for the year. And that's about it. Oh, there was one other thing mentioned about Senate Bill 16. Everybody's kind of trying to contact their local representatives to have them vote against that because that will seriously hurt SEDOL financially. That's it.
I'm sorry if you mentioned this, Ann. Is there discussion about tuition?
Yeah, 5% increase.
So that's
Basically in the report that was already given.
Yeah, I got the impression that was tentative, but that was correct. So 5% increase for next year.
Well, that's our tentative budget. We haven't done the final budget, obviously. But yeah, 5% is the thing. And then they're going to increase non-member placements. I can't remember the exact numbers on those. But non-member districts will be paying a heftier tuition starting this year.
Right.
Move on to the superintendent's report.
The school-based health center contractors have been hard at work on the construction of the school-based health center at the high school. The masons have finished their work with the roof joists having been installed and the interior walls being framed. The electricians have completed the conduit from the electrical room to the addition. The plumber has tied into the building's cold and hot water and was to complete the rough-in in the addition last Saturday. A mechanical contractor has completed the rough-ins and is waiting for the arrival of the rooftop unit. This week, the electrician will finish the rough-ins and work will commence on the sprinkler system and drywall. We anticipate that the project will be completed near the end of August with an opening date in early September. High school summer school update. The high school summer school program is well underway this year with approximately 250 total students enrolled for the first session. This includes not only core credit classes for students in grade 9 through 12, but also current 8th grade students who need extra support prior to their arrival for 9th grade via foundation support, as well as the Honors Summer Bridge program for students coming to the high school taking honors coursework. We are also pleased to announce that over 40 incoming freshmen have signed up for our Freshman Success program, which is designed to orient incoming students to the high school in order to assist them in their transition. Lastly, approximately 175 to 200 students are taking advantage of the summer seamless food service program on a daily basis between the morning and afternoon summer school. K-8 Math Fair. The Teaching and Learning Department in Pearson hosted the first of 2 math fairs today. This event provides a chance for staff to view the new math curriculum, explore the new interactive features, and speak directly with Pearson curriculum experts. 11 laptop, professional development books, and grade-level math centers were donated as part of a staff drawing. The next math fair is scheduled for August 4th, noon to 4 p.m. Community Preschool Initiative.
As you are aware, we have been working closely with Community Action Partnership with Lake County for several years to help establish a Head Start location within the Round Lake area. Knowing that we will be vacating the grant space at St. Paul Lutheran Church this summer, we made sure that representatives from Community Action and the church were introduced. We are hopeful that these two entities will be able to establish a successful partnership which will bring additional preschool services to families of the Round Lake area. Round Lake District 116 hosts Illinois Autism Training and Technical Assistance Project. The district is hosting training this week, June 16th through the 20th, with the Illinois Autism Training and Technical Assistance Project at Alice Elementary. 37 teachers, social workers, speech therapists, and psychologists from Round Lake, Beach Park, Woodland, Big Hollow, Antioch, Millburn, and Zion are participating in this training. 12 staff members from Round Lake District 116 are participating. In addition, 6 of our students are being utilized as models for the training. The training allows staff to learn, develop, and implement supports for the students to be successful in a general education environment. This is a hands-on training. Each day, participants will hear an hour lecture and then design lessons to implement with students. Teams collect data on targeted skills. After the lessons are implemented, the teams debrief with the coaches to modify their plans. The groups then share experiences so everyone can see what was working well, as well as some common mistakes. This is the 3rd year, is that correct, fellas? Okay, this is the 3rd year that we have hosted this, and I want to thank fellas for leading the charge to invite other districts to come into Round Lake to be a part of this training. Website refresh, we're currently working with our website provider to complete the refresh. The goal of this refresh is to provide a new and professional look, as well as a consistent look for each page. An update will be provided to the board once a go-live date is set. This should occur in July, and that is it for the superintendent's report.
Question on the website. What are we doing? So we're going to see what we're doing this Facebook page is always consistent and building that information. So what exactly? I know you say more professional. What are we looking to do about it?
We're looking to establish some guidelines for each of the school pages. So you won't be looking at one elementary school that has all of these links on the side, and another that has a completely different set. We want it to be a template. There might be a little change here and there, but for the most part, it's going to be consistent look. The high school is a different animal. They have a lot more information put out on their site. So we'll be working closely with the webmaster to develop what needs to be on there and so forth. So the webmaster now are gone for the summer. So I'll be looking to move everything over to the new look of the page, and then once they return in August, that's when you'll start to see the big changes on the pages, because they'll be making those significant changes to the template style once they return.
I would just add a comment that I think we want to encourage our local webmasters to be more mindful of the calendars. Even when an event is posted on the calendar, there's a lack of information and sometimes misinformation. For parents to know what's going on when they need to be submerged.
We need a motion to approve the May 19, 2014 regular meeting and June 2nd, 2014 committee of the whole meeting.
I'll second it.
Mr. Daniels made a motion, Mr. Daniels second. And the roll call, please.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Mrs. Radford? Mr. Daniels?
Yes.
Mrs. Long?
Yes.
Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Daniels made a motion, Mr. McGinley second. Any questions? May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Mrs. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Radford?
Yes.
Mr. Daniels?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next, we have introduction of our new administrators.
Thank you. I have 2 administrators that I'd like to introduce to you this evening that you just hired on the consent agenda. Christine, you come on down. This is Christine Peace. Christine will be the new Assistant Principal of Student Services at Round Lake High School. Christine graduated with her bachelor's degree from Eastern Illinois University in Special Education in 2003. She received her master's degree in Educational Leadership and Administration from Concordia University in 2007. She began teaching at Mannheim Middle School in Franklin Park, worked there for 7 years. In her time at Mannheim, she was both a self-contained special education teacher and a resource co-teacher. For the past 3 years, she's been co-teaching math at Hadley Junior High in Glen Ellen. And during her time at Hadley, she has also served as the department chair for special education. She currently lives in Roselle with her husband, Brian, and their daughter, Claire. Please welcome Christine to the district.
Sorry, my voice is a little rough today. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so glad to be here. I'm really excited to get started. Thank you.
Next, I have the honor of introducing to you Mr. David Gates. David will be the new principal at Round Lake Middle School. David graduated from North Park University in Chicago with a Bachelor's of Arts degree in history and a secondary education teaching certificate at that time. While at North Park, David regularly volunteered for the Cycle program, where he went to the former Green homes once a week and tutored middle school students. Upon graduation from North Park, David was employed by Rochelle Township High School, where he taught government history, coached basketball, coached track, and served on various committees, including the School Improvement Committee and the Community School Committee to build a new high school. In 2002, David graduated summa cum laude from Northern Illinois with a master's of education degree in curriculum instruction and assessment with a specialization in secondary education. And then in 2007, he graduated summa cum laude again from Northern with a second master's of education degree in administration. In 2007, David was employed by Forreston District 221 as an assistant principal. During his tenure there, he reduced the discipline referrals by 50%. In 2011, David was hired as the pre-K through 12 transformation principal of DePue School during year 2 of a federal school improvement grant that they were under. DePue students were 86% free and reduced, 76% Hispanic, 6% Asian, and 19% Caucasian. They live in a village that sits upon an environmental super fun site due to high levels of heavy metal from decades of manufacturing in that area. So they have some special needs there. The school had been low achieving for decades. However, due to Dave's leadership, the achievement gap has been significantly reduced through his use of professional learning communities, response to intervention, collaboration, PBIS, one-to-one technology, alignment of curriculum to Common Core state standards, restructuring of bilingual education, addition of math assessments, introduction of STEM, and addition of new evaluation instrument. Sounds familiar to our district. So please join me in welcoming David to our district.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. As you heard, it's a great match. I'm very excited to help lead the district's vision in the future. Thank you.
discussions that we had over the last several meetings regarding that coming referendum.
Thank you. So you're gonna drive for me? Thank you. As Bill said, at your April 28th meeting, you recall that Charlie Gonzalez and I had the opportunity to talk with you and debrief a bit about the referendum from this past March. And you gave us direction at that meeting to proceed with another referendum effort on the November 2014 ballot. And one of the last discussion points or slides from that PowerPoint in April was the fact that we need to be mindful of the district's debt capacity formula. So that's what we're going to start off tonight, is talking about addressing that under the assumption that the board wishes to pursue another referendum project of a similar size to what you had on the ballot in March, which was 29 million. Talk a little bit about timing and strategy and ballot language, all leading up to some board action eventually. So if you look at this first slide, this is the one from the last PowerPoint in April. Every time the district's equalized assessed valuation, or EAV, gets updated, and when you pay down principal on bonds every year, which for your district is in January of every year, the formula that's provided by the state, which for you takes your EAV times 13.8% because you're a unit district, you get a number. And that total number is the basis for your debt capacity, how much you can borrow on a referendum basis. You have to subtract from that number every time to the amount of principal and bonds that you still have outstanding. So there are two numbers that are highlighted here. And the one that we need to focus on is the one that's the roughly $26.8 million amount. Because we now have the 2013 EAV for the district that just came out within the last couple months. You'll pay some bonds off as a district in January of 2015. And if you go to the next slide, Heather, you'll see that in January of 2015, which is important, the district's debt capacity will be $26.8 million. So under the law, the most amount of referendum bonds that you can issue is $26.8 million. However, also per state law, the district may issue working cash bonds on a non-referendum basis when it is above its statutory debt limit. Okay? So per the law, they can be issued to finance capital projects. And the debt structure, the debt payments for these types of bonds is such that they count against the district's debt service extension base. I know we talked about that in the past, but just as a refresher, the debt service extension base provides, again, a basis for the amount of non-referendum bonds the district can issue and what its annual payments are. And we could do a working cash bond issue for capital projects on a non-referendum basis and be within the law. If you go to the next slide, Heather, the ballot language itself can still ask for approval to issue $29 million in referendum bonds. You can put any number, actually, on a referendum question, but it all comes back to how much per the law can you actually issue in referendum bonds. So if the board's goal, again, is to secure $29 million of proceeds for a project, before it would go and sell bonds on a referendum basis for a portion of it. It could also sell these working cash bonds like we talked about, but it has to follow a couple important legal processes. The first is to follow the 30-day petition process, and the other is to hold a public hearing. And you can hold both of these processes at any time, really, because once you've gotten through this 30-day petition period, your authority to issue non-referendum bonds is good for 3 years. So you can start this now, like I said. Just to be clear on what the 30-day petition period means, is you as a board would adopt a resolution of intent to issue working cash bonds. And immediately thereafter, within a day or two, a legal notice would go in a local newspaper. And it would inform the public that the board intends to issue some working cash bonds. And that day that notice appears in the paper, it starts a 30-day clock. And if during the 30 days, at least 10% of the registered voters within the district sign a petition, they can stop the bond issuance process on a non-referendum basis and say, we don't want you to sell these bonds non-referendum, as I said. But if you get 30 days and you don't get signatures, then you're free and clear to issue working cash bonds. after you've also had a public hearing. And the public hearing functions very much like the type of hearing that you have for your budget or your levy every single year. On the next slide,
Can I interrupt before you go on?
Sure.
One of the questions I had when we met was, should we choose not to use that money?
I'm sorry,
Should we, if we go ahead and do this summer,
right,
and we get the authority to do this, should the referendum not pass, we are not obligated to borrow that money, correct?
you are not obligated, correct.
I just want to make it clear that this doesn't step by passing this. Does not mean that we have to use that.
Correct. Now on to the next slide, and I know it's hard to see the numbers here, and I have some graphs to show what's going on here as well. But because we were able to get the district's 2013 EAV within the last couple of months, we could update what the projected tax rate is for bond and interest payments in the district for the next several years. And we knew with the referendum attempt from several months ago, we were looking at an increasing bond and interest tax rate based upon the way that the district's outstanding bonds are already in place or structured. But because the district's EAV declined a little bit more than was estimated for 2013, and we're estimating some more declines in EAV over the next couple of years, simply because the housing market's taking a little bit longer to get back up on its feet. You can see over on the right-hand side, this is the B&I tax rate column, for example. In levy year 2013, the bond and interest tax rate is about $1.82. Next year, if the EAV declines by almost another 6%, it would go up to about $2.02. And you can see what the trend is for the next 4 years. And actually, if you go to the next slide with the graph, you can see here what that projected bond and interest tax rate is with the bars. It would go up each year for the next several years, go up to about $2.70 in tax year 2017 before starting to drop back off significantly. Okay? And again, this was the pattern that we saw last year when we were talking about this. But because the EAV has dropped more significantly as projected to, it's a bigger increase, if you will. The next slide shows the actual debt service payments that are on file for the district's bond. So it's a similar line. The tax rates projected to go up, and that's again because the debt service payments are going up, coupled with a projected decline in the EAV. So that's an important factor to revisit, because when we were looking at the referendum this past spring, part of the debt structure at that time was predicated upon restructuring and refunding some of the district's outstanding bonds. And if you look at the next slide, you can see here the district, as you know, has several bonds outstanding. And that 2006 bond issue, where you've got maturity amounts that are shaded in yellow, those maturities of bonds are callable, meaning the district has the opportunity to refinance those bonds or refund those bonds and achieve some savings. And we've been waiting because the call date is on January 1st of 2015. The board could have taken action already to refund those bonds, but hasn't done so because you wanted to wait and see what happened with the referendum. Okay? So you still have the opportunity to do that. You have not touched those callable bonds so far. The other bond issues that are outstanding in the district, there are several listed here, none of them are callable. You cannot achieve any sort of savings by refunding them. However, you can restructure them per federal tax law to try to achieve a certain tax rate target in the district. On the next slide. As we just said, those 2006 bonds were callable in January of 2015. And you as a board can refund those any single time. And if you remember from the referendum effort this past March, the plan was, as I said, to refund them, restructure them to help achieve a level bond and interest tax rate of $1.74 for several years, if you recall that. So now as you're looking at debt structure for $29 million, with a combination of the $26.8 million referendum and then some working cash bonds to get to the total of $29 million, the board can do this a couple different ways. You could target the $1.82 bond interest tax rate, which is the rate for levy year 2013 that we know. Or you could go to $1.74, which was the tax rate target again for the bond interest levy in the March of 2014 referendum. Okay? But to do that, because again, the EAV declined more significantly than was estimated for 2013. And we have a more pessimistic view of projected EAV over the next several years. In addition to refunding those callable 2006 bonds, we also have to look at refunding a portion of your 1999B and 2001A capital appreciation bonds. Okay? That part of it's new. The 1999B and 2001A bonds are new to the puzzle. I want to explain what capital appreciation bonds are, because most of the outstanding bonds in the district are current interest bonds. Okay, so those types of bonds, you as a board pay interest semi-annually. The 2006 bonds, for example, all of those are current interest bonds. Capital appreciation bonds, or CABs as they're called for short, they're also sometimes referred to as zero coupon bonds, pay interest only at maturity. Okay, so bonds that were sold back in 1999, in that case, they don't mature until 2014, for example, you as a board have not paid any interest on those bonds in the last 15 years. It's all at maturity. Okay, that's what we call the accrued value, or sometimes it's called the accreted value. So because of that, when you put those numbers together, the amount of interest that's accrued over time, their current value of those caps today in 2014 is significantly higher than what it was back in 1999 and 2001. Another way to think about it is kind of like the U.S. savings bond. So you might have bought a savings bond at some point in the past in 2000, it was worth $25, but 10 years down the road, it's actually worth $50. It's a different way to think about it, okay? So, the original par amount, or principal amount as we call it, of the 1999B and 2001A caps that have to be refunded in order to help the district achieve a $1.74 bond interest tax rate with a referendum is about $3.8 million. Okay, that was the original principal amounts back in 1999 and 2001. The current estimated accreted or accrued CAD value today is almost $15 million. Okay, but what counts against your debt capacity, interestingly enough, is the 3.8. But if we're going to look at restructuring them with current interest bonds, we have to restructure them based upon what that accreted or current value is. Okay. In order to do that, to refund caps from 1999 to 2001 that have an accreted value today of just under $15 million, the district would have to increase principal, issue new bonds that are current interest bonds with a par amount of about $11.2 million. Well, we know from talking earlier in the presentation that if we did that, that would be over the debt limit because we're preserving as much debt limit as possible under the state formula for your project. We want to minimize what would have to count against your debt limit. So, again, that's going to push us over the edge. However, per the law, the district may issue what are called non-referendum funding bonds to refund those 1999B and 2001A bonds. Whatever the accreted value is, you can issue these funding bonds that actually refund those current values. Okay? And like working cash bonds, funding bonds can be issued to exceed your debt capacity or your debt limit. Okay? But another little twist is where the working cash bonds count against your debt service extension dates and dictate what the annual debt service payments can be. This type of funding bond, when it refunds CADs like this, you don't have to worry about counting anything against your debt service extension dates. Another little quirk. Like working cash bonds, the district has to go through a 30-day petition period and a public hearing process before you can issue the funding bonds. Okay? And again, these types of activities could start this summer if you like. $1.82 scenario, $1.74 scenario, what this would look like. And on this slide, we're looking at the option where we are refunding the 2006 bonds that are callable. We're refunding some of the bonds from 1999 and 2001. We're issuing some working cash bonds. We're generating proceeds of about $2.5 million. We're issuing $26.5 million of referendum bonds for a total of $29 million for projects. And on this slide, we're getting to that $1.74 bond interest rate. Okay? And the next slide is very similar. I won't belabor the details on this slide, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about them. The next slide shows you a very similar picture, but here we're looking at $1.82 instead of $1.74. How we make it all work. Okay? And the length of maturity, by the way, between the $1.74 and the $1.82, if we compare those two slides, it's going to take you another year. If you're targeting a $1.74 bond interest tax rate, it's another year on the debt service schedule. So targeting $1.82 pays the bonds off a little more quickly than the $1.74, because you're not stretching it out quite as long. I did want to take a minute just to talk a little bit about the interest rate market, because I don't think we talked about that at the meeting last time. In all the numbers that we have put together so far, we have used current market rates plus 75 basis points for 0.75%. Okay? We always like to use a cushion in the market because we don't know where rates are going to be. If you have a successful referendum in November and you're selling bonds in December or January, we don't know where rates will be. We're hopeful that things may remain relatively stable, but a lot of things can happen. But I mention that because the market is stronger than when you were looking at doing this referendum last fall in 2013. Okay? So our basis for the current market now is better than what it was in the fall. But I just wanted to highlight that we still have built in quite a bit of cushion into the rates, okay, assuming a referendum in November. So, with what we've laid out for you tonight, our recommendation, if this is how you would like to pursue the options we've laid out for you, this would be the timetable. At the July 21st board meeting, you would adopt a resolution of intent to issue the working cash and funding bonds. You would also adopt a resolution to call a BINA hearing. BINA stands for Bond Issue Notification Act. That's a statutory term. And you could also adopt the resolution then to place the question on the ballot on November 4th. Then, the notice about the intent to sell the working cash and funding bonds and to hold a public hearing would go in the newspaper on July 23rd. We would get that referendum resolution, or the election resolution, as it's also called, filed with the Lake County Clerk by August 1st, which is plenty of time. There's still several weeks before it statutorily has to be filed, so you get that done just by August 1st to make sure it's taken care of. You could hold your public hearing for the sale of the working cash and funding bonds on August 18th at your meeting, and then the 30-day petition period would expire on August 22nd. Okay? That's where things would then sort of stop with the working cash and funding bonds for the country, because then we would move on to the next slide. You'll see obviously our election day is on November 4th of this year. So nothing will happen between August and November as far as the funding bond and working cash bonds go. If there's a successful referendum in November, then there'd be a resolution for the board's consideration in December to issue referendum, working cash, funding, and refunding bonds. And then bonds would be sold in either December or January, with a closing date, though, again, after January 15th of 2015, being mindful of that debt capacity formula and maximizing the amount of bonds that the board can issue. The last thing I wanted to talk about tonight is the ballot language piece. This is the language that was on the ballot in March of 2014. And there have been discussions with Charlie Johnson, with the administrative team, with the board president, with the finance committee chair, a couple conversations here and there about what should this language look like. And I'm going to speak hopefully not out of turn and say that I think there's a general theme to overall be fairly consistent. The needs are still there, the scope is still there, but not get too far off track from where you wrote the ballot language last time. That being said, there have been some discussions at the table about how might we tweak the ballot language from March, and And this is a separate handout, so it's hot off the press, it's not on the PowerPoint. So I just wanted to point you to these. On the other short presentation on page 2, there was one suggestion that maybe the reference to demolishing a portion of the high school building was a little bit too much of a question, and could you take that out? Of course, the answer is yes, so we've just shown you the language that could be taken out. We wanted to do that. Another option, on the next slide, is when we back up. There's been a lot of discussion with the administration over the last several weeks as it thinks about this next referendum effort to help the community understand that this project, this $29 million project, is not being done in a vacuum. It's part of a much grander facility master plan. It's part of many years in the making and plans that the district will have in the future. So someone said, why don't we mention that in the ballot language? So you can see, I think it's in red in your PowerPoint, that there's a reference to adding all as part of the district's master facilities plan. You know, it's kind of the end of the question. Trying to help voters understand. Again, this is one part of a much bigger plan the district has in place. To do that, because we also had discussions with bond counsel who has to sign off on the legality of the question because there is statute that drives how this language can be put together. The bond counsel said, yes, you can make a reference to the master plan in your ballot language. However, anything that's listed separately or referred to also in the ballot question, you have to be sure that what's listed is actually listed in the master plan. And in talking with Charlie, looking at the master plan, one thing that she pointed out was to say, we talk about science and math labs, but it does not reference specifically in the master plan STEM labs. So if you want to have a reference to the master plan in the ballot language, you're going to have to take out the STEM, technology and engineering, and just list science and math labs. So the lawyers are making it more interesting for you. So if that's something you'd like to do, you can work this way as well. Or if you want a combination of both slides, you can do that too. But we just wanted to bring this to you for your consideration tonight on the language piece, because again, the plan is to have a resolution for you ready at your July 21st board meeting to adopt. And we need to know, not today, but we need to know relatively soon which way you'd like to go. Did I have anything else, Charlie, you want to add in terms of the plan or anything?
The only thing I would say is, I'm sorry, the only thing I would say is technically you have computer labs referenced in the plan, so there's like technology and computer labs that are put down there, but at this point it's a totally different meaning. It's not even the apples and oranges that we're talking about. So, but.
So anything you want to add? Okay. Any questions? I know it's a lot of information, but we wanted to make sure we were giving you all the right information as you make your decisions.
One question for me is about fund bonds. That only pertains if we pursue with $1.74 bond interest capture. Is that correct?
It's also the $1.02. We just don't need to do quite as much.
And we met last week, and Charlie is here to just give a brief update on that. There should be some documentation that you have as well as in your packet.
I guess I don't have any questions, but we go through the process of everybody else who didn't have the document from them. After the last meeting, actually before the referendum went out in March, we decided to go for structured measures, so we began to do that process. We had put out an RFQ. We had many people interested in the RFQ. There were 18 firms that either asked questions about them or actually picked up the document. Ultimately, we had 10 firms that submitted, all very qualified. We narrowed it down to four firms, and the 4 firms that we interviewed last Tuesday night from 4:30 to 8:30 in the back of the library for Camosi Construction, Gilbane Construction, IHC, and Pepper Construction. All performed very well. And for those of us that were there, got to see a lot of individuals from all of these firms. We got a flavor for what they could offer. And I would say, and again, Tammy's comment, not speaking out of turn, from everybody on the committee, I think each firm had something to offer and presented something that resonated with your needs, resonated with what Round Lake wants at the end of the day. So it wasn't an easy decision, but it ultimately came down to the high-quality local high school work that IHC has performed for your neighboring districts, including Mundelein and Grant and many neighboring districts around. So seeing their portfolio of work and hearing that of 16 out of the 19 districts that they work for did a project because of a past referendum. So passing a referendum is a big key to their successes as well. So they are who will be bringing in July with a negotiated contract with them and come back with a formal recommendation to approve the contract and get started.
Who's writing the contract?
Our attorney.
Okay.
The
I want to
district-
make sure it was our attorneys, not theirs.
The district attorney.
Okay.
I'm going to give you an opportunity for public comment. If anybody has any further public comment.
I might speak loud enough for you guys to hear me. I have a loud voice. It was nice that she put together that nice presentation. I'm going to be honest with you. A good portion of us parents don't understand a word that was said. What I did get out of it was that there's an opportunity for you guys to post something in a local newspaper, and basically, if we basically don't know about it all summer long, and we don't catch it, we don't read the paper, you can get bonds, and you can increase things. I'm not sure what working bonds are. So this is my suggestion. I know she said that the wording, and they think the wording on the ballot may have been a cause. But the wording on the ballot was not the cause of the failure of the referendum. The cause of the failure of the referendum is the large disconnect, disorganization between the district board, the administration, the parents, and the teachers. If you can work on fixing that, then perhaps you can get parents to sway that way. But when you are finding, and I'm going to give you an example. My middle daughter was going to be in Schuler. They enrolled her in Schuler. Schuler enrolled her in the Summer Honors Foundation. My daughter received bus transportation, which is awesome. My daughter is not going to go to Round Lake, which is okay. Then I speak to other parents, and their concerns are, one is not here, one is here, that they did not receive their bus transportations for the kids. This morning, a good portion of the kids who started their Summer Honors Foundation did not know when to be here. They did not know when to get to the bus stop. It's huge, this organization here, huge, and that's just the beginning. The one thing I can say positive, and I really want to commend the kindergarten preschool presentation. I think it is awesome. I like the pictures that they presented. I personally don't have children going there. I would probably suggest that they make that presentation for Spanish-speaking families so that they understand and can see the good opportunities that they have going on there. And then last but not least, I really do like the suggestion of the change of the mascot to be Panther Cubs. I think that that's awesome. It encourages the kids throughout all of the years to step forward and take pride in the district, which is something that these kids haven't had for years. Thank you. Yes, I'm Lori Hernandez.
I'm Peter now. I live at Washington.
The program was for the Schuler, was it Schuler transportation?
No. It's for the summer scholar, or the summer honors program that is being held here for the district for the kids to go. And then there are parents, Abby is not gonna go. And she received some kind of thing, which is awesome that she received it. Somehow she was correctly enrolled, but the rest, a good portion of the rest of them did not know what was going on.
You're talking regarding transportation.
On the summer honors program, they put out the memo that do you need transportation? So my daughter is part of Schuler, and I said yes, but we never received anything in the mail. And the Schuler program, all their paperwork said that classes start at 9. So when all the Schuler kids got there at 9, they found out that actually classes start at 8. So I'm assuming then, I don't know, we never were notified, do we not qualify for transportation? I have no idea.
My name is Peter Madden. I live at 212 East Washington Street in Raleigh Park. I have one comment on your notice, the kindergarten notices. You said you guys already have flyers. How about a phone blast? That wasn't mentioned. Also, you had said that only the ones who are registered are going to find out. Well, what about those who we have, the kindergarten person that are not registered yet? How are they notified? And then, how are you guys going to notify parents about the health plan? About when that's going to open, you're going to send a flyer, or how's that going to work? The handbook. You have a lot of parents that don't receive a handbook because they don't have kids yet. What about sending them a notice where they can receive a handbook?
Fill one of these out. I know, or us. Do you have one? Yeah, I know.
I just have one thought. I know that the public comment is for 3 minutes, but I think for our Spanish-speaking people that shouldn't include the translation portion.
It's not. She's not shutting it off with the translation portion.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been giving them extra time for translation.
Okay, my comments we want.
That one was 5 minutes, I don't know. I can't do it.
My name is Marta Padilla. I live in 824 in Raleigh, Illinois. And I have a little one who's going to go to preschool. And I want to know if my son is sick, how my babysitter is going to go and get it. Because it's in different place. How he's going to get it. And I heard, I'm not sure, about the new school. It was closed because it had fungus, and how fungus. I want to know why the school was closed and why it is better for us to go there.
Talking about
Pleviak, correct?
The school, yeah, and we want to know, well, I want to know why the school was closed for them and why it's better for us to go there. Because I think it's better for us parents, the national transportations to go there, to have it closest to us, the school there, instead of going 10 minutes apart. 20 minutes.
Just correct, that school was not closed due to any fungus. The school was being closed due to low enrollment, so they did not have enough students, and that's why they were closing the school. So it has nothing to do with any bacteria or any fungus or any problem with the school. So that's not true. So I just want to be sure that we are always heard any rumors about anything being wrong with the building. There is nothing wrong with the building. So there is nothing wrong with that building at all. So they needed to combine their children with the children at another school. So the school was vacant due to low enrollment. So basically that's why the school is vacant. And as far as the preschool children will be going to the early education center building. So if you said that you have a preschool, child will be going to preschool, that will be the school that is right in the district at the early education center, which is where our kindergarten children have been going. So that's where the babysitter would pick up the children.
That's why I'm wondering why we don't have enough information, because I was notified that my son was going to go to that school, not to EUC.
What grade is your student going into?
My son is going to go to preschool.
How old is he?
It's going to be 4.
Okay, Phyllis, would you help her after the meeting, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't write my address. I would like to make contact. I didn't write my address on the paper, I did it. I'm very interested in the special education program because I had a son. I talked early about a community mom, but now I'm talking about my son. He's in special ed. And when he started high school, there were a lot of changes here in the high school. He's not receiving the support he needs. This is the 3rd year, he's in summer school, and he's not even getting the help he needs. He's 5 hours with only 25 minutes for recess, and it's too much for him. He is a special ed student, and he's really frustrated, and I'm really frustrated, and I would like to be involved in the special ed program and to be informed what's going on every school year when the school year begins. Because when he came to his 1st year, I didn't know there were a lot of change. He was a normal student when he was in MD. And when he started here, instead of getting support, he got only F and F. When last year, he wants to kill himself because he was on a lot of depression. I talked to the case worker manager, and she was really surprised. But how many kids are like my son? I don't know if you had a special student or son or daughter, I don't know, but I'm talking about my son and how he feels. And I'm really concerned, and I would like to be more involved. And I would like to give my new address. So I hope the school administration contacts me so I can get involved. That's what I'm asking.
You're Sandra, right?
Yeah, my son. He's supposed to be graduating this next school year, and I hope so.
We have no information.
Yeah.
Is she saying she wants to give you the information?
I don't know if you understand my English, but I try my best.
She's going to get her information and the information on your
I talk about the special ed. I really would like to be involved more because I care about my son.
We appreciate any parent that wants to be more involved with the school. So thank you. Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Mi comentario es, ahorita me gustó cómo el principio, que el principal, cómo expuso lo del kinder, las fotos y todo.
She's very pleased with the pictures and the explanation about the new school.
Mi pregunta es, ¿por qué no lo hicieron antes de decidir? ¿Por qué no presentaron este proyecto, por decir, el día de las inscripciones, que fueron el 12 de marzo, que yo registré a mi hijo? Porque yo...
She would like to know why she didn't get, or the parents didn't get this information previous to making the decision and make this presentation to him.
Eso hubiera estado perfecto.
That would have been great.
Porque todavía el día, yo registré a mi niño temprano, todavía no sabía de esto, toda esta información.
She said that she registered her kid really early and she didn't have any information available.
El día del field day de mi niño en el preschool, yo pregunté como más o menos 20 padres la misma pregunta, ¿a quién se le informó?
She talked to 20 parents on the registration day and nobody had any information.
Y todos ellos contestaron. Para todos fue sorpresa recibir la carta del 16 de mayo.
And for all of them, it wasn't surprised to get a letter from the school notifying them about the decision.
My name is Claudia Salcedo. Yo solo quería agregar el día de hoy respecto al libro que todos los padres de familia recibimos del distrito.
She would like to make a comment about the handbook that they got from the district.
En la página 55,
on page 51,
menciona,
55, page 55.
Menciona los 6 pilares que les muestran y les educan a nuestros hijos en las escuelas.
It has pointed the 6 principles that are being taught to the kids in school.
Y creo que también les hace falta a los que trabajan en la escuela, no solo a nuestros hijos.
And she also said that it's needed on the staff, not only on the kids.
Necesitamos respeto de los principales a los padres, de los maestros a los padres y de las oficinas del distrito a los padres.
She said that she is demanding respect for the parents, from the school, from the principal, from the staff.
Agradezco mucho el gesto que tuvo esta noche el principal en poder voltear y vernos, explicar un poco las fotografías que estaba mostrando.
She is grateful about the principal from ECC turning around, facing them, and explaining the whole presentation.
Porque el día que estuvimos en la escuela nos ignoró totalmente.
Because when they were in the school, he ignored them.
Nunca nos miró a la cara ni nos dio un poquito de respeto. Solo buscábamos respuesta, no pelear. Muchas gracias.
She didn't get an answer. They were just asking for answers and not fighting. Thank you.